If you'll bear with me to the end of this video, I'll tell you how Dr. Moon came to be, how the Sidewalk Stage program came to be, and how I've ended up out on the street for over 11 years now. I'd like to thank everyone for watching any of my videos. I hope you've had a good time, and I hope that you've enjoyed the songs and some of the poetry. This has got to be the hardest video of all of them that I've made, because I have been thinking about what to say, how to say it, and I've just been stuck. A lot of the recent events and things have been really unusual and so traumatic, it's just got me in a stuck position. So I'm going to try to break out of this and get you a video and tell you some things about me and how I got started, and maybe ways that you can do things that are interesting. Let me tell you who I am. My name is Chris Saunders, and I grew up in Christiansburg, Virginia. And some of you out there I may have only recently met. There's a lot of you that I have known for many years, and there are a few of you that I have known my entire life. I have grown up in this area. My family are local on my mom's side, coming out of Montgomery and Floyd County for generations. All right, testing 1, 2, 3. This is this is my cat helping test it, and my dog. Like I say, this has been something that's been on my mind to get together for you, and it has been almost impossible. And so I look forward to finally being able to get these things out of my head, and I hope you enjoy it. This is all such a crazy story. It's not been something that I've tried to exploit or take advantage of a situation that's bad in the news, but it is something that affected me personally, and it just is like PTSD. It's been a moment that I've not been able to really get through, and so I appreciate the opportunity to finally be able to talk about some of the things that brought me to the street that have to do with current events in the news. So again, let me start all the way back at the beginning. I have done music and art my entire life. And the idea of bringing art and music to the community has always been something that I have strived to see happen in our town. As I say, I am local for generations. My great-grandfather was born in 1788 in Montgomery County. And between Montgomery and Floyd, this is all we've ever known. This is my town. This is my family. If you read Simmons, Yearouts, Booth, Delaney's, any of that clans out of Floyd, you were probably related. In the 10th grade, I was in Future Farmers of America. And I was coming back to school. I had been sick a couple of years and missed my 8th and 9th grade. And I had signed up for shop and farm something. I can't remember what the name of the class was. But you would get to drive a tractor. And that was what I was the most excited about, the idea that I was going to learn to drive a tractor. And we would do different types of farm implementing, things like that. And so it was a long block. It was a 3-hour block. And I came into school that year, and I went down, and there was just something about what was going on with me at that time. I thought, I want to challenge myself, try to do something different. So I went and dropped that, and I signed up for art and guitar, and started taking guitar in school. And the next year, I signed up for choir, and I signed up for art and the theater. And that has been life-changing. That's been pretty much what I've done since those years. In the 1980s, I became a club musician with my good friend Bud Bennett. We were Bennett and Saunders. And our motto was, you pay and we'll play. And we would play some of the most unusual gigs all over town. We've played every restaurant, every bar, every venue. We played weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs. We would play anything that anyone wanted us to play. It was a great period of time. And during that period of time, we learned hundreds of cover songs. And so when you hear me play on the street, and if I'm playing cover songs, then they were songs from that era. At that time, there was smoking in restaurants and bars. And so it was, you started at 9 o'clock at night and went until 1 o'clock in the morning. And so it was a very difficult thing sometimes to be a musician, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. A lot of great musicians have come out of Blacksburg. Unfortunately, we've lost a lot of great musicians. With a great group of people, I helped found the Christiansburg Community Theater. And it was a wonderful community theater, and there are all types of outgrowths of it now with the New River Valley stage and a variety of things going on now. But at the time, there wasn't a community theater. It's hard to get rolling on telling something, so I appreciate your patience with me. The point of all of that is that art and music and everyone's exposure to it and your ability to come and see something or experience art and music in your life, I think is very, very valuable. And so that's what I've been about and my family's been about all these years. This is the tough part of the story. It's not really for little kids. And so thinking that and being able to say that is part of the reason that I've just been stopped in terms of being able to explain who I am and how I've ended up here. So the parents may want to watch and make up your own mind on this. But in 2007, my wife and I ended up taking jobs with Virginia Tech at the dining services, Owens Dining Hall. It was a great place to work. Wonderful, wonderful kids coming through every day. There was a series of shops in Owens Dining Hall that you could order a variety of foods, whether it was sandwiches or shakes or burgers or Mexican food or any number of things with a salad bar. And every day, 2 or 3 times, we would see all the children come in, and we would get to know them because people would have their particular favorite things that they like to eat. So you would see them all the time. You would get to know who they were. And at that time, they called me Moon, and so they would always speak to me. And it was just a wonderful, wonderful time. Virginia Tech was doing really well that year, and it was just a really cool place to be. Around April of 2007, I was working at a shop called La Cantina, which was a Mexican shop, and you had a order form that you would fill out so that you could place your order and not have to actually interact with the person. You could hand them your order form and not have to say what you wanted to order. So, and among the people that I was waiting on, a young man walked up and he handed me his order form, and it was Sung-Young Cho. Sung-Hyu Cho. I'm not even sure how I pronounce it. But if you know the rest of the story, then you understand who the person is. So he ordered a regular thing to eat, and it was a quesadilla, and a quesadilla was something that you had to cook. It took a little bit of time. As I stood there, I just watched him and he watched me. And he was so upset. He was so tragically upset. I could see it in his face that something was wrong. And I hate to say it, I'm a local person. I told my wife at the time, it's like somebody killed that boy's dog. He was upset. So I finished fixing his food, and I had to call his name out from the order form. So I called out Cho. He had that written across the top. And he came over. I handed him the food, and I said, "Thank you for coming in. I hope you have a nice day." And I gave him his food. And there was just something in that moment. I thought, maybe I should try to say something to him. Maybe I should try to see if I could catch him. The way that the dining hall was, it was a circle of all the different shops, and they were all connected by a trail of hallways that were behind the shops. So in order to leave my shop, I had to leave my shop and go way down a hallway, then back around, and then come out into the main dining hall. So the main dining hall was just packed. It was packed with everyone, and I lost him. I couldn't find where he had gone. So I asked my wife. She said she had seen him. He looked really, really upset. And we talked about it at the time. Well, it was really a student that had apparently gotten some really bad news. So it went on about 2 weeks, and we came into work on a really cold day. And we went about working, and we started to get reports that we had to get the doors and windows locked. We had to shut the doors and windows. So we had no idea what was going on. We just stayed away from the doors and windows, but we went about our business as far as setting up, getting ready for the day, putting all the food out, getting breakfast ready to go. But we had a television inside of the dining room there, and so we were able to cut the television on. Wow, it's live coming in on CNN. And so it's just that moment where you're thinking, that's outside. I mean, that's outside. That's up on the hill. That's where we're at. There's the snow blowing. That's just where we're at. And then over the next few hours, it was just excruciating. I mean, it was beyond understanding of what was going on, because they came through and they said that there were so many fatalities. And I didn't understand it. I told my wife, they don't know what they mean, because that means that they're sure that the person's dead. And who would know at this point, something so early happening? So it was just incredible. It was the most difficult day. And the worst thing was we had to open. When it was all said and done, there were students that had to be fed. There were students that were coming in that had been out of town, didn't have a radio, didn't have the TV on. There were students coming back in from visiting their families or wherever they had been, coming to the line and ordering a quesadilla in a great mood. And you had to say, have you seen anything in the news? Have you seen anything of what's happened? So that was really a difficult time. That was difficult on the staff of the university. So my hat and my heart are out to everyone who worked during that period of time. I've talked to other people who were in other buildings, have done different experiences. We all went through that together, and it was just something that wasn't from around here. That was just something that we had just never experienced. And so in that next period of time, of course, school let out early. Everyone, you can look this up. School let out early, and we went through the summer, and then that fall came. And I made it a point to try to speak to every person that came through. And I started trying to learn how to say thank you in different languages. So I have hillbilly Chinese, and I have the hillbilly Arabic, and I have all these different things that I can say thank you. At the end of the year, they gave me the Dining Services Customer Service Award of the Year for dining services. And so I appreciated that. That was precious to me. But it was more important that each student felt at home and felt welcomed by somebody who was a local person that didn't look like your regular kind of local person, that they understood that we were a community and that I cared about them. I had children in college at that time. So I tried to think of anything that I could do to make a difference, to improve myself, to use the things that I could do. And so art and music, that's what I could do. That was my thing that I could give. And so my dream had always been to get a degree at Radford University in their theater department. My earliest mentor was Dr. James Halls of Radford University Theater Department, one of the finest directors. And he would allow me to come in and participate in the plays at Radford as a local person. He would cast me in his plays and he would mentor me. I would stop in whenever I would pass Porterfield Hall and I would try to catch him in his office in order to just have a moment or two to talk about the theater with him, to talk about something that I was trying to do just as a local person or just as a person on the outside, and I was much younger then. And he was always so encouraging. He was always so kind. And his influence has carried me through all of these years. So I thought, I'll try to go back to Radford University. So I took a sheet of paper, and I'll tell you about all of this. And I went back to Radford University at 52 years old in 2010. And I graduated from Radford in 2012 with a performance art degree. And so that was my dream, to have a theater degree from Radford University. And so coming out of school, I had applied for the master's program at Virginia Tech, and I was politely turned down because I believe they felt I was too old and I didn't want to leave the area. I wanted to stay here and apply the things that I had learned in the theater here. So I was told, well, you don't need a master's to do that. So I didn't get into the program and I became Dr. Moon. There is no theater degree and a doctorate in the theater, so I became Dr. Moon, like Dr. Pepper and Captain Crunch and Captain Kangaroo, and started working with the town of Blacksburg to make art and music accessible to everyone by busking, by going out onto the street, being able to share our arts and our music with everyone that we come into contact with. And then that way, for me, if I saw that face again, if I see somebody in my community that's upset, we need to say something. We need to do something. We need to reach out to them. We need to be nice. We need to be polite. We need to make sure that our brothers and sisters are okay. So I started working with the town of Blacksburg, and in 2012, I started busking in order to get bacon. I don't eat bacon. In order to pay the bills, I started busking on the streets in Blacksburg, outside of Squires. And pretty much 6 days a week, twice a day, I was out playing music and talking to students and talking to people that were passing by, asking them how they were doing, asking them how their day was going, asking them how their classes were doing. And all of these magical things would happen with students, with conversations that we would have. And it was just an incredible thing. It was really difficult. Sometimes it was really cold. If you look on the Dr. Moon site, there's a picture of me standing in the snow. And so I would go anytime in the year round. And so that's what started the Blacksburg Sidewalk Stage. It's the great leveler. If you've ever thought about performing, if you ever wanted to perform, If you've ever wanted to express that, look up the Blacksburg Sidewalk Stage. But I sort of digressed by what threw me off here. The shooting in Butler, Pennsylvania. It was like a national thing. And it was a young man who was upset. It was somebody within his community, within his school, that was upset. And they interviewed people and they sort of joked about it, and they say, he always seemed, different, or he seemed standoffish. And that just stopped me and took my breath away, because I remembered, I understood what that looks like. I understand what it looks like to see somebody having a hard time. So that's the reason that I urge everyone within your communities, look about sharing your art, and look about sharing your music. Look about getting out on the streets. Look about saying hello to each other. Look about showing each other what's going on, what you're doing, what you're creating. Sing a song, do an original song, play an original piece of music. Try to learn something, do something that spreads this joy. So this is the smile therapy thing. And probably my video is getting way too long. When I first started, I wasn't sure what I was doing. And so I would just go out and sing. And a lot of times my pants would be raggedy and people would offer me food. And so if you go out and you play and you're busking on the street and you look raggedy, people may offer you food. And I realized that I wanted it to be more professional. I wanted people to feel good about the fact that you can share. I was a professional musician, so I was sharing my professional musicianship with the community for free. And I wanted to reflect that. So I began to dress nicer. I got the jacket with the stripes. And I was at the Goodwill store, and for 50 cents, I saw the striped hat. Not that one, but it's another story. I saw the hat, and I thought, there's no way I'm wearing this hat. And I took it out, and I was playing out. This is how this evolved. My dad used to be on oxygen, and he would have to sit in parking lots and while my mom would shop. So going from playing on the street in Blacksburg outside the college, I realized that my greater community could also use a lift. They could also use a song, just something different out in the community. And I thought, if you brought it out to parking lots, handicap zones, that type of open spaces, then people could experience art and music with never leaving their vehicle. You would never cost you anything. If you've got kids and you're in a hurry and you're walking by, for a moment, you have the opportunity to have a live performance experience. I do Shakespeare monologues. We've done puppets. My wife does a living statue. We're trying to think of different things that we can bring to the community. And there's all kinds of people doing things now in Blacksburg. This is the exciting thing that I pass on. We're at the start of the school year in Blacksburg. Home games are coming up. Think about working on doing something for yourself, doing something that you're able to share your art and your music with. But the bottom line is that I think that we need to watch out for each other. Be kind with each other. You're on galactic timing in life. Don't cut somebody off in a parking lot. If you cut them off in a parking lot, it's going to come back to you down the road, if not almost instantly. If you're a street performer, you have no idea who's going to come by at any given moment, or whether they're going to have money or not. You're never late. You're never early. So just enjoy yourself. Do something original. Go downtown Blacksburg after 5 o'clock. Parking's free. So that's just a few things to think about. And I'll tell you some more stories now that I've finally sort of broken this wall in terms of talking to you, telling you this story, because it's sort of traumatic and I don't want it to be a negative thing. The channel's called Smile Therapy. But for any of this to make sense of why I'm on the street, why I'm wearing a hat, why I'm encouraging other people to do it, it doesn't make any sense in ways unless you know that background story. And so I so appreciate your patience in watching this and checking this out. I'll try to do some more music. If you have any ideas or suggestions, that's great. And I'll tell you a few more stories, local stories about things. And so again, I so appreciate you watching. And thanks again for touching base.